Happy Women's History Month. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Lower East Side here in the city, powered by the Eastside Community Network and sponsored by none other than the Ford Foundation, now a content partner to the new bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the east side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. We drop a new episode every week, so turn on those notifications. Today, we are joined by Charity D. Charity is the president and CEO of the newly formed Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. She is the former director of the City of Detroit's Office of Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity. Charity, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you as well. And also joining us today is Kimberly Harry. Kimberly is the co-owner alongside her siblings of an Eastside institution on Mack Avenue, founded by her father, Mr. Harry, almost 5 decades ago. Her father actually gave me my very first haircut. Kimberly, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for having me. And I always love when I hear you say that, Orlando. I love that story.
True. It's true. I had a head full of hair and he cut it all off and left me. It was back in the 90s. So we were still wearing the little tails. I had a little tail.
Yeah.
For the longest.
Did he give you a dum-dum sucker after?
He did.
But the real question is, do you have pictures?
There are pictures of the tail. And there are pictures of my hair. I was 3 or 4 years old and my hair was long and thick. It was ridiculous.
I need to see all of these pictures.
Please be sure to post them on Facebook, Donna.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Human check-in. I'm going to move on from that one. How does this blessed and sunny day find each of you? Donna, how you doing?
I'm good. We went out for a walk today. I had such a great time just being out there. Didn't have enough time, but I did enjoy being outside and just looking at, nature. Spring is my favorite time of year. It's a time of new beginnings. And this spring, I can't help but believe that we're at the beginning of the end of such a terrible process of loss and, on every level. So I'm optimistic. I've got 2 shots in me, and that's like, the second one was hard, but it is well worth the pain and the discomfort, because I thought after 6 hours of discomfort, imagine some people are going through this for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And some people have permanent damage. So luckily I knew even in the midst of my pain that there was an end. And today I was walking outside, all I could think about was the end. I miss people.
Yeah.
We miss you too. How you doing, Charity? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I am ecstatic about the sunshine. I went outside today. It was amazing. I had the most delicious piece of pound cake today from the kitchen with Cooking with Q. I'm going to tell you, this was vegan pound cake, fresh out the oven, and it changed my entire life. That's all I'm going to say. I was in awe. So that set my day up for success.
Love it. Cooking with Q.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How can we, is that, I'm sure that's a Black business. Do they have like Instagram? Shout them out real quick.
Yes. So Q, she's on Instagram. It's at Cooking with Q, or The Kitchen by Cooking with Q. She's on Fox 2 all the time. Black owned vegan spot ever. I mean, the food is delicious. I had the best pound cake today. It really did impact my day. But yes, Black owned sister. Doing her thing. She's amazing. So on the kitchen is on Woodward and Grand Boulevard.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes, amazing pound cake. Changed my life.
Shout out to the pound cake. Kimberly, how you doing?
And you know what? It's a great day. I was just pulling something up on my phone. I reached out to my siblings this morning at 9:01 and I said, morning, let's have a good day on purpose. There are always challenges, but each day my goal is to attempt to have a good day on purpose. So that means that I'm strategically thinking about, every moment of the day. Am I making the best of the day? Am I helping someone? And it's been a really, really good day. It really has. It's been a good day. Got a lot accomplished, and then this.
Yeah.
Glad to have you. Orlando, how about your day?
Well, you know, today I've been sitting in gratitude and reflection all day. Donna, I don't know if you remember, but today marks my 1 year anniversary at Bridge Detroit.
Oh,
Today,
wow.
we're
Congratulations.
Wow.
at the new bridgedetroit .com, and full of excitement, full of vigor. They mailed my laptop to me. We started at home. I worked for Donna, did I work for what, 2 or 3 days, and then I was sick.
You know what?
I,
Orlando wants me to remember this as happy times.
it's not happening.
I'm going to be real straight. Okay. It was not a good day for me when he started working at British Detroit. I'm real happy for you now. I've recovered. It was like,
I love it.
This is authentically
I
Detroit.
actually
You're gonna
thought,
get authentically Donna.
I actually thought he was going to be gone, but he still has a desk in my office. So I don't know. So, love to have you here. He's not on my payroll anymore, but he's still here. And I know that the year from last year, you'd still be with us. I'd be really, really happy on that day. But in all seriousness, we were dealing with so much sickness and fear and, just afraid to breathe. And so I'm really happy to celebrate your 1 year anniversary in our building. And yay, Orlando.
Yeah, so it's been quite a year, and as everyone knows, it's been a hard year with moments of joy and moments of deepened grief. But as Donna was saying, it's just something in the air that feels different, and I'm looking forward to the future. So yes, I'm feeling really good, Donna. Much like you, excited about the spring. But it's time for Fresh Off the Press news that we are thinking about. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Donna, Fresh Off the Press.
Detroit works on making more room for marijuana businesses. And this is Olivia Lewis reporting with Bridge Detroit. So apparently, we just had an ordinance passed that allows for people to get recreational marijuana licenses and seeks to balance the playing field in a significant way by prioritizing experienced sellers of marijuana over newbies. So if you've been in the field and possibly have a little bit of a criminal history behind you, it's counting on your behalf, understanding that Black people in our community paid a disproportionate price for the illegal nature of it. But I think we still have some things to figure out. You can have medical marijuana in places where recreational marijuana cannot exist.
Mhm.
And apparently, medical marijuana, most of the geography where you can open a medical marijuana shop is in District 3.
Mhm.
So there's a concern that there's going to be overpopulation in District 3 and not enough in some other areas. And there's prohibitions about putting it in prime real estate in places where growth is really envisioned around schools and around residential neighborhoods. And so there's community pushback, a lot of interest on both sides. People don't want it in their neighborhoods necessarily, although, we do have liquor stores. And again, people have medical marijuana in some of these same places. And the difference between medical marijuana and recreational is not all that great all of the time, for really being honest. I mean, it's not, I've never tried, but I've heard that it's not hard to get a medical marijuana card. And so I think, the real question is, do we want to see successful businesses? This is a business. It is illegal from a federal standpoint, but it has been permitted at the state and local level. And so, do we want to see these businesses thrive? And do we want to have points of entry for African American business owners so that we have diversity and we have the ability of other people to make money? So much of what Charity is going to talk about, I'm so excited about this, is around equity, wealth equity, right? And so you can have rules and policies that do not intentionally, that are colorblind and do not intentionally disadvantage Black people. But unless you do certain things, they're going to disadvantage Black people nonetheless. This seems like one of those things where
You can't
apparently the
do
property
certain.
is too high. And so I hope they get it right. I have confidence that there are people in the city who really do want to get it right. And that those of us who we can hold our nose if we don't really like marijuana and still understand that this is really going to help shape how our community is set up for years to come. And so whatever we decide right now is going to have an impact 10 years from now. We have to think beyond the, I don't like marijuana too much, to this is now the law, and this is a business opportunity, and how do we facilitate that? This is one of many barriers.
You know what, Donna, something comes to mind, a quote from Davita Davidson, who said, if you are working in the city of Detroit and you are doing so race blind, then you're doing the work the wrong way. You can't work race neutral in a city like Detroit. I want to read something and I want you to respond to it. Just 2,538 parcels of land meet the zoning and space requirements for the marijuana related businesses in Detroit. However, city planner George Etheridge said on Wednesday that many of these parcels have been priced out of range of legacy Detroiters. The city has identified only 17 structures within its inventory that meet that zoning and spacing requirements so far. So it sounds like equity is not only needed in physical space and built environment, but in, closing these capital stacks.
Yeah, I mean, when you create scarcity and when you limit where people think places can go, you're creating scarcity. Scarcity produces price inflation. And there's a whole lot of people who have been looking at this for a long time and projecting and understand what all of this means. Like, I would not know what these requirements mean, but there are people who are planners and there are people who hire planners to understand that this real estate is going to be valued a whole lot higher in the future. Let's go ahead and encumber it. And once we encumber it, then we can make money and we can actually control who gets to go here. So again, it's a race neutral policy that has racist implications and racist outcomes unless we get ahead of the game and really demand equity in all that, equity represents for our community. Charity, what do you think about this?
I was gonna say, this is, I have a lot to say. And full disclosure, this is part of my job. This time, before I stepped down from the city, the Civil Rights Department was very instrumental in the new recreational license ordinance. And the other thing I'll say a couple things. One, Councilman Tate really engaged a group of folks around this ordinance in a way that I have not seen before. And I went to some of those work group meetings. There was a lot of work put in, and I will always give credit for that. And then there are some things within the ordinance, you can't actually hold on to that land. So if you've, at those 17 parcels that you're talking about, they're only available for legacy Detroiters, right? So you have to have been in Detroit for 15 years and you have to have a license. And if you don't get a license, you can't just hold it and hold it forever. If you don't get a license, then it's got to go to another legacy Detroiter, and you get 75% off the price of that land if you're a legacy Detroiter. So there are some components in there that are thinking about some of these things, but I'm gonna tell you right now, to your point, Donna, this is an industry that there's so many unknowns, and you have to be overly intentional and then also be flexible to make changes as the ordinance comes into effect and then things come up. And I'll say this also about your earlier comment. A seasoned saint said to me one time, if you are not sitting at the table, you are on the table, right? And so as it relates to the marijuana industry, which is which has the potential to be $1 billion industry in our state as African Americans, and we are consumers, we need to be entrepreneurs, right? Where we consume, we need to own. And so I 100% agree with you on that. But equity is not done by accident. And if you're not thinking about it, if you're not breathing it every single day, then you will miss the mark. So that's my thought.
The proposed zoning change from 1,000 feet of distance from a drug-free zone would create a 53% increase in the number of available parcels, according to George Etheridge at the city of Detroit. So yeah, this is something that we'll follow. Go ahead, Donna.
You have to look at what a 53% increase is. 53% increase means, about half of 17. So you're really talking about 9 more businesses. You're going 26 as opposed to 17, which is still not enough. So let's be clear about the numbers. We need more than that if we're going to have equity. But Kimberly, I have a question for you. As a long-standing business owner, how would you feel about having a marijuana business operate in close proximity to your business?
Great question.
And so if I can be totally honest and transparent, I have not done enough research. I think any business, if it's operating responsibly, if it's operating legally, um, then I don't think I would have an issue. But again, I don't know enough about the industry, and I have not done my research. But I do, as a longstanding business owner, operating legally and operating responsibly are two of my primary concerns.
I'll be keeping 100. If I had a choice between a marijuana business of any kind and a liquor store opening up next to me, I take the marijuana business every day. First of all,
Your cousin.
marijuana businesses are so cleverly named. I want to have a collection of names. I just love the name.
Yeah. Green Garden.
Because sometimes you have to, you have to look twice.
I saw one that said church.
Yes, no, those billboards are insane.
You look at the billboards on liquor stores, liquor.
Right. Liquor.
Nothing about them stands out. But it seems like marijuana businesses take their customers seriously. They're just trying to get somebody. What's the name of the one? Is it Utopia? Is that the one on Lafayette?
Utopia
Gardens.
Utopia Gardens. That is a beautiful business. I wanted to stop there and get some coffee, and I realized that's what they sell. It looks like a coffee shop, doesn't it? And so I think that, some of this is kind of funny to me when I look at what I see happening outside of a marijuana shop versus a liquor store, where you have people standing around. Yep. Nobody's standing around in front of the marijuana shop, and I don't know why, but you don't see any faces. Like maybe people are ashamed or something. So
that's true. That is a great observation.
You don't see people loitering outside the weed shop. Okay, they get in their car, they park, they get their weed,
they leave.
And every single marijuana business I've seen has improved the look of the building they've moved into. Those are some nice looking buildings, not every single one, but I'm telling you, they look nice to me. So while I'm not an advocate, and I don't want any church people, anybody else to get mad at me.
They're coming for the Saints gonna get you.
They're coming. But they've been coming for me for a minute. But I'm just saying that when you look at developing our business trips, I don't think we should be afraid of it as long as there's not a concentration. That's my thought.
I really want to solve the capital, the lack of capital problem. I understand that to start some of these businesses, you already kind of need a tremendous amount of wealth. These businesses are very top heavy. And as a member of the financial industry, I chair the board of One Detroit Credit Union. On the credit union side, the credit unions are very heavily regulated by state and federal regulators who caution us so much about venturing into the cannabis industry that they caution us right out of it, right? And so we're trying to really do a landscape analysis around how we can provide services to this emerging industry, because number one, it's not going anywhere, but then two, this gap in capital, if we're talking about legacy Detroiters who may or may not have the wealth necessary or accumulated to actually start something like this, then that's also an equity issue that needs attention and intention if we're going to talk about spreading the benefits of this industry around, especially to our Black brothers and sisters who are looking to start one of these businesses in the city.
Orlando, why do they caution you to sort of stay away from that business?
Well, I want to be clear. They don't caution us to stay away from it. They just over caution us about the industry. Okay. So much so that, if you are a credit union and you are under federal and state regulation, one mishap, one misstep, this industry could put you in a Camel 4 rating, which is a really bad rating.
Okay.
Where you would be under federal, like intentional, insane federal oversight for years. So, credit unions are trying to figure it out, but not many have jumped on it. And I don't know what the banking industry is doing. It's a cash heavy business, so there are all of these things to account for. And so while there is a capital flow problem on part of the entrepreneur, some of these institutions also would need some upfront capital to make room for this kind of industry. New entrances, new ventilation systems, because you know how we like pungent weed in the city.
Loud if you
loud.
But
the other thing is that, oh, go ahead.
No.
I was just gonna say to Kimberly, the other thing is because it's illegal at the federal level, these business owners don't have the same access to resources that other business owners. They can't just go to TCF and get a loan, for example. And so, or even a CDFI to get help. And so as we were thinking about from the city side, how we create equity here, that's one of the biggest things. And so one of the things that I know is coming from the city side is creating a fund because you can't find funding now. And there's also legislation at the federal level as well that will help to ease some of the burdens. And once, maybe with Joe Biden in office, maybe we can actually get some movement there. But for example, you can't write off your business expenses. If you are a cannabis company, you can't write that off in the same way that another company can. So there's so many barriers.
Wow.
But when they're regular barriers for regular people, add like 100 million, and then that's how it is for a Black entrepreneur in that industry. So.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on Joe Biden. I'm so glad you went first so I can say this in context. Didn't he just fire people?
He just fired folks for smoking weed.
It's like he's not selling.
Wait. What did you just say?
Joe Biden
just fired people for smoking weed.
People who have smoked weed in the past. They were interviewed. Have you smoked weed in the past and believed it would not be used against them? And then they lost their jobs. So
no way.
That was just, I think that was just last week.
Yeah.
I am so out of it for national news, but oh my gosh.
That's exactly what your eyesight and everything you're doing right now. I hope people see this video is exactly how I responded. I was like, when I saw it, I didn't believe it. Sometimes I was like, no, let me look this up. This is just an angry millennial. And I saw it and I was like, no, this is real. So
and that's why okay, sorry, well, I'm gonna go on a tangent.
But no, I think that's two things. One of them is that I just think that we need to have some honest conversation. There's nothing I dislike more than hypocrisy. We have so much hypocrisy around marijuana, and let's be honest, all of these laws didn't get passed because Black people smoke weed.
Right.
Okay. So that's number one. If it was just on us, it would be, still.
Yep.
Level 1 felony ever. But the other thing is that we have just suffered disproportionate harm. And I think what James Tate tried to do, and I my hat's off to him. He took a lot of heat for taking his time to get it right, and then he got it right as far right as he could. But to a certain extent, I see reparations built in there. But you know what I'm sick of? Give me some money with my reparations. Don't just give me a law change and equity. Equality is not reparations because we didn't have an equal consequence. We need a more than equal opportunity. Yeah. And it's not just saying, okay, we're going to look at you first, which a lot of times that's all we want to do. Put some money where your mouth is. And there's so many things you could do. Right now they're telling these cannabis owners, business owners, that they have to invest in nonprofits. And that's about to get messy as all get out because you see Horace Sheffield keeps getting cut out of these deals. I don't know if you've seen that 5% of their profits have to go to a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, and they keep on
as one of the good.
So that's a criteria for
the Good Neighbor.
The Good Neighbor program.
The Good Neighbor program, they have to invest. This is a statewide thing. And they keep on making deals with Horace Sheffield, and then somehow he keeps getting, removed from these deals, and they're saying, pay it to somebody else. But what if these owners were required to invest in a fund to help new emerging entrepreneurs get into the business? Because when you start choosing between community organizations, you have people fighting over weed money inside of neighborhoods. I think it could be as destructive as it is productive. But if you use those funds to address a root cause, and that is something else, I think it would be good. Not maybe have them invest in a community fund to help out neighborhoods, but the fights over weed money are going to get real. So anyway,
is that a criteria though, just for cannabis owners?
Yes.
All All right.
Orlando, fresh off the press.
Yes. Fresh off the press. Why does this police commissioner keep getting muted? Listen, it's been some drama going on at the Board of Police Commissioners for a while now, and we haven't covered it on this show, but we are covering it now. Police Commissioner Willie Burton talked to Bryce Huffman at Bridge Detroit, really about his tumultuous relationship with the Greater Commission, specifically the strained relationship that he has with the chair of the Board of Police Commissioners, retired police officer Willie Bell, who represents our district, Donna. He represents District 4. Commissioner Burton went on record saying that he was muted and silenced by the chair when he was, quote, "I was bringing up the concerns of my constituents regarding the racist facial recognition technology, concerns that many people in the city still have, but they removed me from the meeting. I think they disagreed with the things I was saying." So you may remember that news cycle when he was physically removed from the meeting. Yeah.
He's supposed to oversee the police chief, and the police chief is removing him from a meeting. I'm like, removing, upside down.
How does that happen, right?
Independent commission could, okay, go
on. And then, I would say,
y'all, first, I know you're doing this. This is my first interview on the other side.
No shade to you, Charity.
No. I'm not look. Here.
So Burton has filed suit.
I'm just enjoying this. That's all.
Here is the thing that really bothers me, right? The Detroit Police Commission is supposed to be a citizen oversight commission, right? Over the Detroit Police, where citizens can go and give affirmation to the cops or make complaints, and that commission is supposed to investigate it. What I perceive the commission to have been doing these last few years is really essentially an enforcement and support arm, not a check, but an enforcement and support arm for the Duggan administration and for specifically Chief James Craig. And so what Willie Bell got, and I know Willie Bell, and Willie Bell did not want to comment on this story. And Commissioner Bell, if you're listening, and I know that you listen to this show, and I know that we have been friendly in the past, we invite you to come on to the show and answer some of these accusations, because it is troubling when an elected official cannot, number one, voice the concerns of his constituents as early and as late as January of 2021 and as late as last week's meeting, because of whatever discord that's going on. And we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Commissioner Bell declined to comment on this story, but you have on record 2 other police commissioners saying that it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in a public meeting for a chairperson to not allow another member of that commission to speak. So he's being silenced, he's being censored, he's being muted on Zoom. And so what's going on, y'all? Like, Donna, what do you think? I mean,
first of all, he is also suing, and he's saying that if he is not allowed to speak, he's already filed 1 lawsuit and he's threatening to file another. What Mike Duggan, as mayor, is very good at doing is controlling all of the independent commissions and bodies that surround the city of Detroit. He stacks the board, he provides different kinds of ways, he understands how machine politics work. And, I think you can say, okay, we don't like what this man has to say, but he represents people, he represents his district, and his district is not represented when he's silenced. And that's upsetting. I think that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. And when you silence somebody because you think there's a good reason to silence them, think about this. If you weren't talking about Detroit and a mayor who some people like and who has a lot of popularity and power, think about if you were talking about Donald Trump doing something like this. Or think about if you were talking about this happening somewhere in Alabama where the police chief was escorting out a board member who was elected to represent somebody and to provide oversight over policing. But of course, he was police chief and also deputy mayor. So maybe he was wearing his deputy mayor hat because those roles were also in conflict. I think that it is important that we understand what democracy looks like and that we protect democracy with
At
every
all
fiber
costs.
of our being,
At
because I
all
don't
costs.
care who is mayor. I'm a voter. I have a democratic right to have the people I voted for represent me and say things that are not popular. There's a whole lot of people I wish I could silence who have political roles in this nation, in this city, and in this state. You know, if I could just silence anybody, oops, you shouldn't say that. I mean, but the reality is, you don't get to do that. You don't get to decide some speech is relevant and others is not, and you don't get to talk about this topic because we don't put our air our business, or because I think that what you're saying is false. There's a process for dealing with all of that, and it's our responsibility as citizens to be clear what we expect from our elected leaders. And I'm saying this to Mayor Duggan, and I know he doesn't listen, but some people who work for him do listen. We expect you to encourage your friends and your allies during this election year to let democracy reign in the city of Detroit. You shut down protesters and arrested them and then threatened to countersue them because you didn't like what they had to say. And then the year before that, marched Nazis all around this city and said they had the freedom of speech. And when people were storming Cobo Hall, they had the freedom to speech. Well, Willie Bell has the freedom to speak, and every protester who has criticisms and ideas about how we should do things differently also has those freedoms. I saw a Confederate flag waved in front of a taxpayer funded facility, the LCA, where a known Confederate flag bearing racist performed for 6 whole nights opening this event. And so what I see is some people have freedom to speak and others do not. And when it's an elected official, it's especially egregious.
The Board of Police Commissioners meets every Thursday at 3 p.m. and you can join virtually on Zoom, or you can watch past meetings on the board's website. So just go to their website. That information is available at bridgedetroit.com. Before we move on, I want to offer space for Kimberly or Charity to give comment if they have one.
I'll decline to comment.
Okay. Kimberly, you have a comment on that?
I just would sort of piggyback off of what Donna said, and it's pretty broad, but freedom of speech is important.
Yep.
And we certainly can't pick and choose who we silence. And I'll just leave it like that. We don't have to agree with what's being said, but I don't know what the guidelines are for picking and choosing who we silence. And I don't know if those guidelines exist.
That wraps up our Fresh Off the Press segment. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Charity and Kimberly, we're excited to talk to you both about the Black business support landscape in the metropolitan area, experiences on the ground, and how this new Black Chamber of Commerce or Alliance wants to help. So Charity, we'll start with you. Can you give us some insight on how this new alliance or Chamber of Commerce came to be and how you emerged as its lead executive?
Thank you for the question. So first, I just want to say thank you for having me. This is so fun. I really enjoyed that last segment. I was like, oh, I remember when I wanted to do. Anyways, this is fun. This is great. The Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance really emerged, I would say, really, really more focused in the height of COVID. And so my background is, I'm an attorney, born and raised in the city of Detroit, live here on the West Side. I worked in, former city employee, worked for the Duggan administration for the last 7 years. So I started at the land bank and went into the mayor's office and then ran our civil rights office. And when, in that time, right, I saw a lot of things happen. And I especially saw how government moved when unified people demanded it. And the key word is demanded it, right? And that's not just even at the local level. I saw it at the state level. I've seen it at the federal level. There's something that happens when people demand, what is owed to them or demand change. And, I had a few conversations with colleagues around the city for years about, man, we really need this in the city of Detroit. And it wasn't really until last year, COVID, that a couple of business owners and myself began to spend our evenings and weekends really saying, okay, how do we make this happen? And the other thing that happened during COVID was that, a couple weekends ago, I think it was the anniversary of the first case in Michigan. And I'll never forget being in a cabinet meeting at the city. And we hadn't had a case yet, but we knew that it was coming and we were getting an update and getting, and we're talking about the response. And not, 2 days or 3 days later, I got a call from a colleague that said, okay, remember you asked that question in cabinet about like small business? We need to do something. And so I began immediately to work kind of around the clock with our colleagues to build our small business response for COVID. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what this was, how long it was going to be. I remember being very afraid. I remember because I was still at work. So I was driving into work and there was no one on the freeway. And I felt like I was in a movie. But we were trying to figure out how do we make of the unknown, and we were getting something different every day from like the governor's office, from nationally, and we were trying to figure out how we resolve this. And there were a couple of times when I began to work with some Black-owned business owners, and I'll call out one specifically, Charles Nolan, Chuck, who owns Cutters in Eastern Market, and began talking about how do we really do something right. And so we began meeting to develop the organization. But I'm gonna be clear, this was not my plan. I knew that I was going to be leaving the administration this year. It was part of the things that I had prayed about at the end of last year, but I didn't know what it was for. And really, as we began to meet and fundraise for the alliance, we had an amazing conversation with Gary Torgo over at TCF, who was really interested and really concerned about, this being something sustainable, that can sustain, and is this something, who's going to lead it? Who's going to be the person that's in charge of it? And asked me very pointedly. And I knew that this was something that I would do if the opportunity presented itself, and it did. So I'm happy to do it, but the need has been there for a very long time. And we have no idea, we think we have an idea of what we're about to step into. I already know that, we're going to get some surprises, but I'm excited to be doing the work because it is really important to me.
Yeah, so TCF, I can't be a journalist and not say that TCF made a sizable grant to this org in the amount of $1 million.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
What's the plan? What's the plan with all that?
Yeah, so they made a commitment, a 5-year commitment, because for them they didn't want to make a donation. It's not just a donation. We really want to partner, and they've already done some things related to Black businesses, and they really want to help facilitate the giving of a number of resources. Apparently, they have a lot of money that they want to give specifically for Black-owned businesses in the Metro Detroit area. So we're going to be working on that, but our organization is going to serve Black businesses in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. We hope to have a business resource center. Actually, we will have a business resource center downtown where members can come in and get free internet, free co-working space for, if you need to use the boardroom for free. We also are building out on our website a Buy Black directory of Black-owned businesses in the Metro Detroit area. So that you can go to one place and get every Black-owned business, so whether they're a member or not, we want to list them on the directory. But then we want to do like really intentional programming. So right now we're focused on, we just announced our launch on Friday. So we're focused on tax time, getting folks ready for that. The implications, if you got a grant or something last year, what is that going to look like on your taxes? But we are also an advocacy organization. And that's really important. And I try to remind people of that. So what does that mean? Is that we're going to be advocating for resources, not just from government institutions, but from financial institutions to go directly to our Black-owned businesses.
I have a question, because during the COVID crisis, a lot of people credit you with doing some of the same kind of work of getting them ready to get access resources and whatever. How do you differentiate this work from the role you had at the city?
Okay, I love that question. First, you know, I'll say this, and I think I said it in one of the had an interview around COVID. I don't know that the work that I was doing during the city was a response to COVID and not necessarily a response to what the civil rights director of the city of Detroit does. Does that make sense? Like I got involved in this small business stuff because COVID hit. We were certifying Detroit-based businesses and connecting them to resources, but the idea of really like rolling up our sleeves and I worked with Rachel Lutz to create a Facebook group and to give like minute by minute updates. I mean, we were really engaged. It was really an emergency response, but what it did, and we know this, what it did was highlight the need or the gap that was not there previously. It highlighted for us, especially in city government, and we talk about this all the time, you know, pandemics, emergencies, they show what's already there. And so it highlighted for us, a need, a need.
Yeah, it essentially laid bare the deep inequities that were sort of already in existence and exacerbated those inequities to the point where we know that some folks didn't make it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we know, but it's also like with the city, it seems like because of the anti-affirmative action legislation or constitutional amendment, where I don't remember which one.
It's the Constitution. It's in our state constitution.
Our Constitution, right? Because of that, you could not target Black businesses, even if you saw that there was a targeted need. Is that correct? Does this give you more freedom to target businesses that are Black without having workarounds?
So that's a good question. And Donna's pointing out, we have the most conservative state constitution in the union as it relates to affirmative action. So we should just know that. And that came from, I don't know if y'all remember that ballot initiative. And so the way that it's written in the state of Michigan is hugely paralyzing. But so yeah, obviously, yes, right. This allows me to be blackity black more so than I could be as now I was blackity black as the director of civil rights and I was unapologetic about it, but I can be even more so here. But this is also, you know, when I was working at Creo, I was a director of civil rights. So I'm still I'm an appointee, I'm appointed by the mayor. And I'm still a governmental official. Now I'm running an advocacy organization on behalf. So I found myself, and I say this all the time, and I'm not ashamed to say, there have been times when I find myself as a government employee, I'm wearing two hats, right? I am Creo director, so I'm in a meeting with my colleagues and I'm saying, oh, this is something that we should do. But I'm also wearing the hat of like advocating for Black businesses. Hey, y'all, we need to make sure we do this, right? And so what that does, though, what it does is, oh, that's charity, right? It's, you know, if you don't have an outside organization doing this work, and you just rely on the government to do it, and not to say that, like, you know, I wasn't effective or that government can't be effective, but a healthy democracy, Donna, to your point, you need everybody. A healthy democracy means you need a legislature putting pressure on the executive. You need community advocates putting pressure on both, right? You need powerful and thriving businesses that's putting pressure on everybody, right? And so you need all of those things in a healthy democracy. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but here now I'm adding to what I think we've done in our civil rights department, but it's definitely a gap.
And maybe that's a piece of low-hanging fruit that you can go after when we talk about you guys being a policy advocacy organization. Maybe that's on the policy agenda. I want to bring Kimberly in on here on this discussion. Kimberly, tell us about Harry's Barbershop, but also how you would like to see this new alliance work for a Black business like yours.
You know, it's so funny. The onset of this global pandemic created a total paradigm shift. You would hear the conversation about small businesses, but all of a sudden, it was small Black businesses, Black business owners. There was the conversation wasn't localized. The conversation now, it was a national conversation, something that has never happened before. Um, the narrative was, what can we do to help? It was something that I think my father would be very shocked but proud. Because I think, and when I think about the barbershop, you know, we're not a big business. You know, we're brick and mortar. We're on the corner of Mack and Marlboro, which is near and dear to my heart. But I think from the outside looking in, there wasn't much relevance or importance placed on, you know, a barbershop. I think, again, I'm seeing the conversation change. The conversations are emerging. What can we do to help? I think that's not a conversation that my dad ever had. Now, there were people who did help him. He was very blessed. But on this broad scale, there was never that conversation. I still think, though, that the conversation, and I've said this a number of times, I'm not sure if people sort of understand the importance of a barbershop.
Right. No, that's
You know,
good.
we're not a restaurant, and so we don't get the a lot of attention. And if I can just be honest, you know, at the onset of the pandemic, if it wasn't for Donna and her organization, when we opened up on June 15th, you know, I was literally trying to purchase PPE. And they stepped forward because I was hearing, well, how did they get it? Or how did they get it? You know, why can't we get it? And they stepped forward. So I still think that even with this emerging conversation, a little small barbershop on the corner of Mack and Marlboro, not everyone sees the importance. But I think we will get there with conversations like this so that I can advocate on behalf of, you know, the really small, the really small businesses. You know, we don't have, you know, 20 employees, but we still have to maintain. You know, we do all the right things, you know. So I think we will get there, but I don't want to say I've been discouraged, because I've been turned down quite a bit. And I think that we've been turned down again because not everyone really sees the relevance or the importance. Yeah, we go there and we get our hair cut, but that's pretty much it. But I think that we will get there. I am determined to continue to advocate, to continue to have conversations and discussions, because I told someone, I said, you know what, in my heart and in my mind, you know, we're a Little Caesars Arena, we're TCF. We're just that important. And so we will get there. I'm glad that the conversation is starting, that the narrative is changing, and that there's been this paradigm shift. And so now we're not just talking about small businesses, but we're talking about, you know, Black-owned businesses. And so I'm really happy about that.
You know, I'm super excited about this in the context of what you're saying, because I think so often the micro businesses or the really small businesses fall out of, and the reality is that a lot of my partners in community development have also developed an understanding that we need to do a better job putting our arms around businesses in our wake. There was a time when our goal was to grow the business sector by attracting new businesses and using resources to do that. And we now understand that we've got to invest in who's here. And I'm wondering, Charity, how organizations like ours, which are in the process of setting up neighborhood-based small business centers, can work with your regional small business center focused on Black businesses so that we can make sure that the Kimberly Harrys and other really small businesses don't get ignored?
Yeah. So first, I love all of this. I want to say something just to Miss Harry. The barbershop is a cornerstone. I mean, when you talk about the importance of that, it's just, I mean, for me, right? I used to wear my hair in a fade. I did. I used to go to seriously. I would go to barbershop, right? And that's where you connect with people, hear a good conversation, get you some pound cake. Like it was, it's a place to be, and it's valuable. And so when you think about cities, and where you want to live, you want to live where you have businesses like yours that are there, that are open. So there's a connection there to real estate, right? There's a connection there to all these things that are going on. But to your question, Donna, we will not be successful. This organization will not be successful if we think we're going to do this alone, period. Because we can't. Metro Detroit is so huge. And we're talking about Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County, right? We're going to be out. We have an event on Friday in Mount Clemens at a Black-owned business there. They need help, right? And so connecting with organizations like ECN or GRDC is going to be huge for us. And also, like when I talk about our business resource center, I'm talking about like 1,000 square feet max, right? So like we need to be able to say, oh, you're on the east side. Here's where you can go, and here's your contact. Oh, you need something in your area. So being able to partner with everybody that's serving the people is how we will succeed. I mean, we're not gonna try to duplicate something that's already happening. We're not gonna try to do things by ourselves. But collaboration is like a cornerstone to us of how we will be successful. So I look forward to working with you guys, Donna.
And one thing, Donna, I'm sorry. One thing that you said, Donna, was that, those small businesses are often the springboard to other businesses. And again, I use ourselves as an example, that block between Marlboro and Phillip. We have such vision for that block. And we want to grow. And so you're absolutely right, Donna. It may be small now, but it can serve as a springboard,
yes,
to other businesses. And so that's so true. And I'm glad to hear you say that, Donna.
And I think the other thing,
I just want to say this real quickly. We talk about essential workers. We need to start talking about essential businesses too. Add that to our parlance. And the other thing I want to say real quickly, Charity, is that we have a public policy agenda that some of us working in this field are trying to advance. And so coordinating with you could be the microphone by which we push our public policy agenda forward, because we don't have people with the expertise and the time to really do that work. So I really look forward to that partnership.
Yes, Donna, I'm all in. Absolutely. I think, so, I've been, we just officially launched on Friday. So like, I'm trying to get to everybody and make my rounds with folks, but that's exactly right. Where we have alignment on public policy issues, we need to be one full force, right? We are, and especially as ECN, I was having this conversation with Donna Murray Brown over the weekend with Michigan Nonprofit Association, and she was talking about some of their policy work, and alignment is going to be key to change. So I appreciate that. And the other thing I'll say on the micro business piece is that at the end of the day, Black people are we are hustlers, right? In a way, because of systemic racism, we have created, this is who we are. And so we have to have a voice, and we have to be aligned in that voice to make change. So I'm super excited, happy to connect.
And we have to continue the conversation.
Yes.
We have to keep the momentum going. That's so important. Sometimes, things are new and we're excited, but we have to find ways to keep that momentum going and keep the conversation going. I think that's extremely important. And so, again, I'm committed. I've said to Donna and Orlando, numerous times, we're not going anywhere.
That makes me feel so good, because I feel a lot like Charity. I would say this, that the Black Barbershop is one of the many epicenters of Black political power, conversation, politics, and advancement, right? Where we can go and be free, get a haircut, and some of everything else at the barbershop. And especially I have an emotional connection to Mr. Harry. He and my grandfather were longtime friends, and that was where I got my first haircut. But you know, being on the business development and stabilization side at ECN back in 2016, well, I would often go out and canvas businesses and talk to business owners. A lot of y'all was like, I don't got time to talk to you right now. I need you to call me at this certain time, or, you know, get in touch with me at this time. You guys were hard to help, right? Miss Harry, tell me and tell Charity, how do y'all want to be engaged? Because sometimes it's hard to engage the small business infrastructure in our city.
I can only speak for Harry's Barbershop because there is a passion. There is a love there, and there is a commitment. Again, I grew up not far from there, so there's a passion. You know, I think sometimes, you know, I said, I think last night, Donna, I'm always calling, you know, Ian at the ECN, you know, what's going on? How can I help? I think you have to put yourself out there. You have, it comes with commitment, it's leadership. And there's such a desire for growth in that area. So, you know, our family, we're committed. We're putting ourselves out there. We're saying, how can we help? You know, what can we do? You know, what do I need to know? What applications do I need to fill out? So you have to be committed. And again, we keep the momentum going within our family because we know what we want to see in that area. And so
I'm sorry.
You have to just put yourself out there. You really do. You have to ask questions.
One thing I remember was this during the pandemic, we were trying to figure out, because we had money for facade improvements, which is what we decided we wanted to give businesses. And in the midst of a pandemic, it's like, maybe we need to reprogram that money,
right,
provide some emergency assistance. And sometimes it's also us who are providing services, remembering to give the customer what the customer prioritizes and not what we decide they need. And that's a lesson for us, right? And it was really Mike Curis, who is part of our planning team and is the owner of the Mac Alter
Square
LLC, who said, wait a minute, why you know, help people. And it's one of those basic things that we know we need to do with people, but sometimes I think when we're approaching businesses, we think we know what businesses should want from us. And so I have really tried to humble myself and our staff to understand that we need to ask businesses, how can we make a positive impact on your business, and then let them answer. Because
that's a really good point.
No problem giving away emergency and stabilization money. None. People were like, let me fill this out. How quickly do you need this?
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, that's what we want to get it out the door. But with facade improvement money, it was like, wait a minute, hold on, you know. Anyway.
You know, I'm preparing for an event and my class reunion. And so they said, well, we have to do something regarding the community. And they said, well, let's give back to our high school. And so they had all of these ideas. And I didn't want to interrupt the meeting, but I called the gentleman afterwards and I said, listen, these ideas are great, but we need to find out, what are the needs? What does this school need? Let's find out what the needs are, and then let's meet those needs. We can come up with a playscape and, you know, new whatever, but are we really meeting the need? And so I love to hear you say that, Donna. You know, you have to ask them, what do you need? And we'll tell you, you know, we will absolutely tell you. But I think that is just an awesome approach.
Charity, I want to ask you about your collaborative approach. I know that you're brand new, but for somebody who's been around a long time, like Donna and myself, and we hear about this, we think about, well, are they working with this organization? Are they working with that? The National Business League is one of the organizations that comes up that's led by Ken Harris. How are there plans, or are you already working with the National Business League and the Michigan Black Chamber of Commerce to advance and see where synergies are and advance each other's missions and initiatives?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I will say this. I'll say not yet, but we hope to. There's not an organization that currently exists whose mission is to help Black businesses that we won't work with. And so we've got plans in addition to the ones you've mentioned to work with the NAACP. There are organizations that may not be specifically focused on Black business, but they're focused on small business. We're going to engage them. I've got meetings with Bill Institute coming up. Detroit Means Business. Black people need as many resources as possible and shouldn't have to make a choice, right? We shouldn't have like a scarcity mentality of like, we only get one or two. We need as many people doing the work as possible. So we plan to collaborate and work with whomever will have us because the work is great. And there's so much work to be done. It's interesting, we are here in Detroit, we're physically based in Detroit, but as I begin to talk to people about Oakland County and Macomb County, I hear so much and I'm like, oh Lord, it sounds like there's a lot of need there for Black business support, because I think automatically people think about Detroit and forget about our brothers and sisters that have businesses in, Chesterfield Township and what they might need and how that city council is engaging and, what are their policies. And so the work, in order to engage in that work, policy alone is big. So we need all the support, and we welcome all partners.
Yeah, I can definitely say as a former practitioner in the small business development and stabilization space, we appreciate the structural approach that you all plan to take, especially when it comes to policy, because there are many folks on the ground, like a ECN, like a Grandmont, Rosedale, and other organizations who are, really about that granular day-to-day operations kind of work. And so we appreciate that. We have to ask you how. What are the entry points for businesses to become a part of the Alliance? We can't let you go without blasting that.
I will say, look at me. Okay, mdbba.com. So Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, mdbba.com. That's where you can join. Because here's the thing, Orlando, I'm glad you pivoted to me. There is something for everyone at the Black Business Alliance. Maybe you're not a Black business owner, but you want to be an ally member. You can join as an ally. I mean, we'll take you there. Maybe you're not a business owner, but you want to make a donation because you believe in the cause. You can do that there. Maybe you don't want to make a donation, but you have a service that our members can utilize. You want to give a discount. Maybe you have accounting services or something. You want to give a discount to our members. You can become a partner. All of that at the website, which is mdbba.com. Please join. We need as many hands to this work as possible. We are trying to overcome 400 years of systemic and structural racism. So everybody that wants to help is welcome to help.
Price points affordable for our folks?
Absolutely. So it's based on size. So our micro businesses are $300 annually, which is about $25 a year, and it goes up based on number of employees. But it depends on who you are. But yes, absolutely. And special discount if you join before April 1st. And this is hot off the press, so people don't know this yet because we haven't announced it. If you join before April 1st, you'll get a 25% discount. That's only this year, only time we're ever doing it. But
you join before April 1st, you get a 25% discount. So Ms. Harry, get on that website.
Awesome. You know that I just really appreciate this. If I could just ask Charity one question. Yeah. For a small business like a barbershop, and you know what, you guys, my laptop's getting ready to, hold on one second. Okay. It's getting ready to crash.
Oh, sorry. No, don't crash, laptop.
1 second.
Uh-oh.
You're listening to Authentically Detroit. Our guest this episode is Charity Dean, the new president and CEO of the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, along with Kimberly Harry, one of the co-owners, along with her siblings, of a neighborhood institution on the east side at Mack and Marlboro, Harry's Barbershop. Miss Harry, you got your computer and stuff together?
I'm all set. I just saw the big flash. Charity, what would you say to keep, a small business like Harry's Barbershop encouraged? What would you say, some of the things that we should continue doing to stay engaged? We want to stay engaged. We don't want to be forgotten. And I don't think anyone's going to forget Harry's Barbershop because we're going to stay hopefully in the forefront. But what would you say to keep small businesses like Harry's Barbershop encouraged?
Well, especially if you're a Black-owned business in the Metro Detroit area, like Harry's Barbershop, what I would say is help is on the way. Help is here. So that's the first thing. I'd say stay connected. I'm gonna come see you on Friday. I'll be on the East Side on Friday, so I'm gonna pop by and come see you. But it kind of goes to what Donna was talking about. One of the things that we're learning, and when you get the membership form, you'll see that we're asking you what is it that you need help with. I've learned, there's a neighborhood bar that's around the corner from me. I live in in the Grandmont Rosedale area, and a bar owner, what they really need is they're doing some renovations in their building, and they need help like navigating permitting process, right? That's different than someone else that is trying to get this state contract. And so we want to be able to be responsive to what your needs are. So I would say stay connected. Part of the beautiful thing about the Alliance is being able to be connected with other Black business owners. There's so much power. We think about, I put out my pitch for donate because we will need resources in order to do this great work, but there is amazing power in the Black dollar if we could circulate it, right? So if we thought, about how do we circulate our Black dollar, and how do you as Harry's, as a member of the Alliance, meet another member of the Alliance, and maybe they're also own a shop, and then you guys can collaborate and find cost savings with some of your suppliers, right? Or maybe all of a sudden you've got now new clients and customers as a result of participating. So being connected for sure, but not feeling like you're alone. We just launched. I had an email from someone else. It's like, I know you used to work in the city. Look, I need this. Someone's not responding to me here. That's okay. At first, I was like, oh man, I'm done with this. But that's what I'm here for. And I'm going to become an expert on every other municipality systems so that we can empower our Black business owners. And we want to empower you guys. One of the things that I haven't been able to talk about, I'm going to talk real fast. I think we're trying to close up here, but one of the things we haven't talked about is, and this is something that's in the development stage. We're not there yet. So bear with me. Don't be like, Charity, you said y'all were going to do this, but we would really love for, if you're a business owner and you give us your address, we give you the name of your city council people and your mayor and your account, like you have those phone numbers, right? If you're in, in Macomb Township, or if you're in Oak Park, you have that information. There is so much power in that. So not being afraid to ask for help either. The other thing is, I would say the only thing you can hear is no. And most times, people won't say no. They'll try to, if they can't do it, they try to figure out someone else that can help. So utilize us. That's what we're here for. I'm gonna come see you on Friday.
Awesome, thank you. And you can get my phone number from Orlando. And awesome.
Okay.
I'll pass it on. This conversation has been great. Our thanks to Charity and Kimberly for joining us. Listen, if you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit, or email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Donna, it's time for shout outs. You got any?
Orlando, normally you have me beat, but this time I am prepared. I want to shout out Juwan Howard and the Michigan basketball team for holding it down for the Big Ten. Go Juwan. Listen, I don't know if you saw the video of him dancing, but
I did.
I didn't see it.
Oh, he is so great. Just a great coach, and managing through player injuries, just amazing. Shout out to Elma's Kitchen, a new restaurant on Mac Avenue. Oh my goodness, that food is so good.
Oh, you said what's the name?
Elma's Kitchen.
Okay.
And it's right where, if you remember where the Rockefeller's Oyster Bar used to be, and then there was a wing shop. So we went through a chicken wing moment, but Alma's Kitchen is no joke. We've had some actually great restaurant openings on Mac, including an Indian food Nurjab cuisine, Indian restaurant.
And Chipotle.
And Chipotle. And there's some new restaurant in the Wild gas station across the street. They keep turning over. But anyway, really enjoyed that. All the women in Women's History Month. I'm so excited about Women's History Month. And I celebrated as a Black woman, always wanting to celebrate Black women for being history makers and really doing great things. And in that spirit, I want to shout out Edith Ford and Michelle Jackson, who were just selected as LEAP co-chairs. The LEAP Coalition.
Wow.
So we have some, I'll just say, fighting women on board. They're not great.
I know Michelle Jackson.
Everybody know Michelle Jackson.
Yes,
that's awesome. Congratulations.
very proud of her. You know, Michelle is also on our staff. I want to shout you out, Charity, just outstanding for you to have this position. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see a woman in this role. Quite frankly, I'm used to seeing men heading up business associations and business. It's you and Regina Campbell and other Black women are going to just, you know, revolutionize things around here. And then I want to shout out my friend Pamela Martin Turner from Vanguard, who just received a $1.6 million grant
From the
to
Night Foundation.
redo streetscapes on East Grand Boulevard. If you don't know, now you know. I used to be executive director of Vanguard. I'll always love the organization and the community it serves. And so for me to see a turnaround of the nature that Pam has brought about in the North End, I remember when she came there and things were a little shaky. So Pam, credit
Shout
where
out to you,
credit is due.
Pam.
You've been able to really establish yourself as a leader in a community where we know gentrification is a big threat, and yet you stood strong on our behalf. And then
Unrelenting.
also, I do want to shout out and recognize Kimberly Rustum for assuming your position, Charity. I met Kimberly when she was at the Detroit Health Department, and she was so helpful in helping us form our Chandler Park Healthy Neighborhood Initiative. And my girl, Michelle Oberholzer, who has just been holding it down for people who have been fighting tax foreclosures and is now the policy director or something like that for the city of Detroit. Michelle, you get roses from me because you helped so many people in the community.
Come on the show, Michelle. Well, you know, I don't know if I can beat it. I'll just say shout out to Donna Givens Davidson, Kimberly Harry, Charity Dean. In International Women's History Month, I am a heterosexual male who is constantly affirmed and catered to. And so to be a minority in this space that we are holding tonight, I'm grateful and a blessing, and I feel honored to be a part of it. So to the women that make up this community, to the women that raised me, and to the women who are unrelenting in their fight for justice, like a Pam Martin Turner. I know Pam too, Donna. Pam has been unrelenting for years, and it is really great to see her hard work pay off. And so shout out to you, ladies. I'm just happy to be here. That's all.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here, and it's always bittersweet, but we're excited. We are excited.
All right.
Well, Charity, you have any shout outs?
Friday. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, a shout out. Everybody, I love Jesus. You caught me off guard. I forgot. You know what? Shout out to the Black business owners that have not, that have been overlooked, that have been grinding hard, that have been transferring from checking to savings from shout out. I'm serious, to who have been grinding despite it all. I dedicate this work to you. So shout out to you. If you are a black business owner, shout out to you.
And Donna, shout out to our listeners for not cursing us out this time around, for not releasing an episode last week. What we want to do, folks, is normalize rest.
Do we give Kimberly an opportunity to shout out?
Oh,
you know what? I'm just going to shout out Donna, you and your staff at ECN. I say this all the time, that you guys were a lifesaver at the onset of COVID. And we didn't feel alone. We didn't feel like we were in this fight by ourselves. So major shout out to Donna and her staff at ECN, and certainly to Orlando for giving me a call and not giving me much time to prepare. But that's okay. I think he knew that I was going to say yes. So yeah, and then Charity, certainly a shout out to you. This is our first meeting. I have a list of names, and I'm just excited because I feel like we are building relationships, and that's what, these are relationships that we're building, and we're excited about that. So a shout out to you for what I know you're going to do and for your commitment and your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Normalize rest, everybody. We thank you so much for listening. We want you to catch the wave.